After a 24-hour shift, I came home to a locked door and a text demanding $20,000. I slept outside. By morning, I closed the account, ended the lease, took my car. 52 missed calls later, their lawyer was begging me to call back. You know what your problem is? You think you're important. There I was, standing in front of my own door, fumbling with the key that just wouldn't work. It was my home, or so I thought. I whispered that to myself as I was on the phone, but my mother-in-law couldn't have sounded more amused. Not anymore, she said. We changed the locks. Just like that, we stopped talking to her. Apparently, she didn't want to talk to me. My mind was reeling. I had just survived a 24-hour work marathon, servers were crashing, calls wouldn't stop, and users just couldn't figure out how to turn their computers on. I came back to my own place barely able to stand, and my key didn't even fit. Then she drops this bomb: we need $20,000 for our anniversary trip. Send it today or I'll tell her you've never been the partner she deserves. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because something inside me just snapped. Where is she? I asked. Here, she said, sleeping away from your failures. I tried calling my wife, but it was voicemail after voicemail, unread messages piling up. I knocked on the door, harder each time. The empty hallway seemed to echo my desperation. I ended up sitting on the cold floor, my head was spinning, and everything felt heavy. My phone pinged with a message about family support. What a joke. I checked our joint bank account, almost empty. Everything I'd earned, all the savings I had worked for, just gone. Jewelry, hotels, shopping sprees, her mother's bills. Family? No, more like a swarm of leeches. I sat there for hours, shivering, lost in my thoughts. Just before dawn, the door creaked open. I felt a spark of hope, but it wasn't my wife, just her hand, cold and indifferent. She dropped off a plastic container of cold spaghetti, a note on top saying your dinner. The door clicked shut. I just stared at it, feeling nothing but a quiet, cold anger. I grabbed my phone and took action. Closed the joint account, canceled the lease, my name was on the contract, after all. The car I'd paid for was parked downstairs, and it was mine now. No notes, no calls, I just left. I drove away, letting the city lights blur into the night. My phone buzzed over and over, 52 missed calls. The last one wasn't from her, though. It was an unknown number, a voicemail. This is Lawrence Parker from Hutchkins & Associates. Please contact us immediately regarding a legal matter involving your wife. I found myself smiling. They wanted a war? They had no idea who they were messing with. I ended up at a cheap motel, the neon sign flickering like a dying heartbeat. The cold wind was fierce, but I didn't feel it. My hands were glued to the steering wheel, filled with rage and disbelief. They thought they had ruined me, but they didn't know what I was capable of without their leash. I looked at the banking app again, expenses everywhere. Groceries, utilities, money for her mother, a fancy bracelet, and a luxury vacation that I wasn't even invited to. I logged into my work email. My company ID still worked, so I had a little fun. Using the admin credentials, I slipped into her old Gmail account. Same password I'd set up years ago. What I found was toxic, emails between her and her mom, laughing about how they'd drained me. Plans for a Paris trip, living it up on my dime. Worse yet, a thread with their lawyer, Lawrence Parker. A draft of a separation agreement with my name at the bottom, stripping me of everything. They didn't just want to leave me, they wanted to destroy me. With steady hands, I replied to Lawrence from her email. Lawrence, I've changed my mind. No separation for now. Please hold off on any further action. I'll discuss this with my husband personally. Then I set up an archive rule for any emails from him, just move them aside, like I'd done before. Let her wonder why he stopped responding. But I wasn't done yet. I dove into our cloud storage. Photos, videos, years of memories, or so I thought. Mostly just her and her family on trips I'd paid for but never got to join. Pictures with friends, guys I didn't even know. Private chats, flirty messages, proof of her double life. I grouped it all in a folder labeled proof. My phone buzzed again. It was her mother. I answered, but didn't utter a word. Just silence. Hello? Hello? You actually listening this time or just faking it again? Her voice whipped through the air, cutting through my thoughts. Stop moping around and send the money. You think anyone cares about your little tantrum? I just kept quiet, letting her unleash every insult and demand. You're nothing without us, nothing. My daughter wasted her life on you, a failure who never lived up to his promises. I hit the record button, capturing every word as her voice twisted with frustration. She had no clue she was leaving behind another piece of evidence for my collection. Finally, I spoke up. "Are you done?" A beat of silence followed. She was shocked. "How dare you?" she hissed. But I cut in, my voice icy and calm. "How dare you? You've pushed too far, and I'm done being quiet." I ended the call. They thought they could break me, but they didn't know the real me. I swiftly transferred what was left of my money to a new account, locked all the shared credit cards, and rerouted my salary to a new bank. I was free, but they were about to get caught in their own trap. By the break of dawn, I had a whole folder of evidence, messages, recordings, financial statements, a timeline of their betrayal. But that wasn't enough. I needed to see their reactions. I parked a block away from what used to be our apartment. I couldn't get inside, but I didn't have to. As a network engineer, I had control over their home security cameras, smart speakers, and Wi-Fi. Everything was linked to my account. One tap, and I could see everything. My wife was pacing in the living room, clutching her phone, her voice shaky. "Mom, he's not answering. What if he knows? What if he stopped panicking?" her mom snapped. "He's too stupid to fight back. Just keep pretending you care, he'll cave like he always does." My teeth clenched, and I tapped the speaker icon. The living room filled with my voice booming. "Pretend you care?" My wife screamed, dropping the phone, while her mom spun around, eyes wild. "Who's there? Who's doing this?" I laughed, the sound echoing through their home. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Did you think I was your fool forever?" They looked trapped in their own home, their eyes darting around in panic. "Listen to me," I said calmly. "I know everything, the money, the separation agreement, the lies. I have proof, and I'm done being your pawn. You can't do this." Her mother shrieked, stumbling toward the door. "I already did," I replied, disconnecting and leaving them in silence. My phone buzzed with another call from Lawrence Parker. I let it ring, then listened to the voicemail. "Mr. Davis, I think we need to talk." I smiled, a cold, sharp smile. They thought they could erase me, but they had no idea what happens when a man has nothing left to lose. I leaned back in the cheap motel bed, the darkness pressing in like a heavy blanket. My phone lay silent for the first time in hours, 52 missed calls, messages I didn't bother to read. They were spiraling, panicking because I had slipped out of their grip, but I wasn't finished. Not even close. I had all the proof, every message, every lie, every plan they hatched to destroy me. I had their voices, their taunts, their betrayal, all trapped in a folder I named Proof. And I had something they didn't, a job, a strong position they couldn't touch. So, I showered, dressed, and drove to the one place they couldn't control, my office, my fortress. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I sat at my desk, watching lines of code dance across the screen, but my mind was on them. Those who thought I was done for. An unknown number flashed on my phone. "Lawrence Parker. Mr. Davis, we need to talk. Your actions have caused significant distress to my clients." Distress was just the beginning. I opened the folder named Proof, containing messages between my wife and her mother. "He's so clueless, he won't even see it coming." Voice recordings of them calling me a loser, saying they carried me for years without me ever realizing it. Pictures of her with other men, her flirty messages, and the draft of the divorce agreement crafted with Lawrence Parker. They aimed to tear my life apart, thinking I'd beg and crumble, but the tables had turned. A new notification blinked on my screen, security alert. I switched to the camera feed. They were in the lobby. My wife, her mother, and Lawrence Parker. My wife clung to Parker's arm, crying. Her mother was yelling at the security guard, waving her hands around like a lunatic. Parker tried to look calm, but I saw the tension in his face. Perfect. My phone rang again. Security. "Mr. Davis, 3 individuals are demanding to see you. They're causing a scene." I grinned, "Let them in." They stormed into the glass-walled conference room like a tornado. My wife's mascara was streaked down her face, her eyes red, and her mother looked ready to attack. Lawrence Parker walked in last, trying to maintain his cool but clearly on edge. "Finally decided to stop hiding?" Her mother spat, her hands clenched. "You think you can just lock us out, steal everything?" "Steal?" I leaned back, crossing my arms, interesting choice of words. My wife stepped forward, her voice breaking, "Please." So, there we were, just trying to talk things out. "I mean, we could handle this, right?" But then came the laughter. "You mean lie, manipulate, and use me?" I asked. Parker, ever the lawyer, raised his hand, trying to keep things calm. "Mr. Davis, we're here to sort this out peacefully. "You've really shaken up my clients with your actions," he said, clearly trying to keep things from blowing up. I casually tapped my phone and said, "All right, let's be real then," and hit play. Suddenly, her mom's voice just filled the room, saying, "He's a loser. We'll drain him dry, and he won't even know." The moment those words hit, her mom went pale. "That's not real," she screeched in a panic, insisting it was fake. But I was ready, switched to another recording of their chats. "Just tell him you love him, he'll fold like always." My wife staggered back, covering her mouth. "Stop it, please," she cried, totally unprepared for the mess unraveling. I kept my cool. "Oh, but you did it," I insisted, whipping out another document, the divorce agreement penned by none other than Lawrence Parker, with terms like half my stuff, full financial support, you name it. But they overlooked one tiny detail. Parker's face was priceless. He tried to play it cool. "Mr. Davis, I can't talk about private stuff without permission." I laughed it off. "So you're their tool, huh? Thought I was just some clueless dude?" "Listen," her mother had the nerve to lunge at me, but I held my ground, reminding her, "This is my turf. Cameras are on, aggression's on record. If it's a fight you want, it's a fight you've got." My wife clung to my arm, tears streaming down, begging, "Please, let's talk. It wasn't supposed to go this way." I shook her off. "Oh, you planned this all right. You both did." Parker stepped in, trying to calm the storm. "Mr. Davis, let's negotiate. No need for a courtroom drama." I took a step closer, making my point crystal clear. "You wanted me to play the victim, but now, every damn dollar will be accounted for. Legally." I headed for the exit, leaving my wife's sobs and her mom's angry screeches behind. Parker called out, hoping to salvage the situation, "Mr. Davis, please, we can fix this." I paused just for a beat at the door. "You had your shot. Now you'll watch as the truth tears down every lie you built." I was done playing around and left them there to stew in their own mess. Back at my office, I leaned against the door, my heart racing but not from fear, just pure clarity. For the first time in forever, I wasn't the sucker. Then my phone buzzed, a message from Lawrence Parker. "Mr. Davis, I strongly recommend we talk. We can still sort this out amicably." I couldn't help but grin. They were scrambling. Perfect. I sank into my chair, staring at the glow of my screen, the silence only interrupted by the slight hum of the air conditioning. My colleagues went about their day, clueless about the storm I had just stirred up. They thought I'd cave, apologize, or beg for mercy. They had no idea. The silence wasn't defeat, it was control. The phone buzzed again, Parker's name flashing on the screen. The once confident lawyer now sounded desperate. I let it ring twice before answering, keeping my voice cool, almost bored. "Mr. Davis, please, they're in a really tough spot right now. They want peace." I let the word hang, cold and sharp in the air. Did they care about peace when they drained my accounts? When they turned me into their personal piggy bank? Silence stretched on. I pictured Parker on the other end, trying to keep his game face on. "They're willing to negotiate," he finally said. I laughed, a sharp sound cutting through the quiet. "Negotiate? They didn't do that when they spent my money." Parker admitted, "Mr. Davis, they're struggling financially. Not my problem. $32,000. In full. No installments, no excuses, or we go to court, and I'll expose every single lie they've built their case on." There was a heavy pause. "Give me a day." I ended the call, my fingers resting calmly. They thought they were the predators, little did they know, they were the prey. That night, I went home, the darkness a comforting cloak around me. I cooked for the first time in ages, just a simple meal. The pan sizzled, the spices filled the air, each bite tasting like victory. The next morning, my phone rang again, Parker on the line, his voice cautious, the swagger gone. "Mr. Davis, they've agreed. You'll get your money in full." "Good. And one more thing, a written agreement that they'll never contact me again." A pause, then a defeated, "Understood." Almost felt sorry for them, almost. An hour later, an email arrived, an official document from Parker's office, promising full repayment and no more contact from my wife or her mother. I read it twice, letting the satisfaction settle in. They believed they could keep using me, and now they were the ones crushed under their own greed. Next morning, I checked my bank account, $32,000 sitting there, every penny. Those numbers on the screen were more than just money, they were proof. Proof I wasn't the fool they thought me to be. And then the messages started rolling in. My phone buzzed over and over with their desperation. "We lost everything because of you," her mother pleaded. "Please, just talk to me. We can fix this," my wife texted. But I knew better now. So, I just sat there letting their messages roll in, not blocking them or anything. It was like watching them shout into the abyss while I just listened. Then comes this text from Lawrence Parker, asking if I'm happy now that they've got nothing left. I looked at the screen. Happy? I wasn't just happy, I felt free. I texted back, each word sharp and clear. Then I set the phone down, leaned back, and closed my eyes. Outside, the city was buzzing with life, but in my little corner, I had everything I needed. I wasn't their victim or their doormat anymore. I was the storm they didn't see coming. Walking into the nearly empty courthouse, a bored clerk stamped my papers and handed them back. I looked at the divorce decree, our names split by a thin line. It was over. No more fights, no more chances, just a clean break. As I stepped into the cool air outside, it felt like breathing in freedom. It didn't hurt. It wasn't even bittersweet. It felt like sunlight after a storm. But of course, that didn't mean they were done with me. Messages from my ex, then her mom, kept pouring in. Voicemails stacked up, full of "I'm sorry" and "I love you" and other stuff laced with regret and desperation. I didn't answer. That night, I stood by my apartment window, watching city lights twinkle below. Another call, another voicemail. Her mom's voice cut through, twisted with anger. "You ruined everything." I just let the phone drop onto the table. Family? Real family supports and protects you. They don't drain you dry and then blame you for it. Days turned into weeks, the calls kept coming, but I didn't care. Work was calm, and I was more productive, faster, and sharper. When I caught a glimpse of myself in the elevator mirror, I didn't look worn out anymore. I started picking up old hobbies, reading, running, cooking just for me. Simple stuff that felt luxuriously new. I'd forgotten how amazing fresh coffee smelled in the morning or how peaceful a quiet Sunday could be. I filled my life with little joys they never let me have. But they didn't stop. My ex's messages shifted from desperate pleas to bitter accusations. "You're heartless." Her mom tried a different angle. "We took care of you." But their home was just a cage, and I was just funding their lifestyle while they laughed behind my back. I didn't reply. Silence was the only answer they deserved. One evening, Lawrence Parker texted again, "Are you sure you want this to continue?" I imagined him in his fancy office, trying to sound all reasonable. I smiled. Yes. They thought I was just a fool who'd keep giving until I had nothing left, but I was done. Done being their wallet, their punching bag. They didn't know what losing everything really meant, until now. I realized I wasn't building a family with them, I was just bankrolling their lives. But not anymore. I wasn't running away, I was walking away because I finally got it. The only way to win was to leave them behind. Their silence became the loudest peace I'd ever known. I woke up to quiet mornings with sunlight flooding my bed, no shadows of their demands. I spent weekends exploring the city, trying out new foods, rediscovering the world I'd forgotten. One day, I found myself laughing over a cup of coffee at a quaint little cafe, a genuine, carefree laugh, a sound I hadn't heard from myself in years. Standing on my balcony, with the city lights twinkling against the night sky, I finally let myself breathe. I hadn't lost a wife or a family. I'd shed people who pretended to care and gained a life that was truly mine. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And hit the notification bell to stay updated with more crazy real life stories happening around you.